Hello, and welcome to the Artist Pivot Podcast. I am joined on this episode by Australian brand artist Emily-Jane Sarroff for an inspiring conversation about the winding journey of embracing your creative self. Emily opens up about her decade-long path from nearly pursuing a career in art to following a more practical route in architecture, only to realize years later that her soul longed for creativity. She shares raw moments of burnout, self-discovery, and the pivotal decision to leave behind the traditional markers of success to reconnect with her artistic roots. Emily takes us behind the scenes of her personal and professional pivots, from building and then nearly walking away from a successful business, to embarking on a solo adventure in Canada to rebuild her self-trust. Through honest reflection, she explores the power of asking, what if? Learning to redefine success and finding daily joy, sometimes in the simplest things like watering flowers or supportive conversations with loved ones. Whether you're an artist questioning your own path or simply someone navigating change, Emily's story is filled with wisdom, fresh perspective, and encouragement. Get ready for an episode that's all about trusting your instincts, taking messy action, and finding fulfillment by leading with your creativity. Let's dive in.
My name is Emily-Jane Sarroff, and I am on the Artist Pivot Podcast.
Your inner artist play, creating your dreams step by step every day. If you're feeling lost and don't know what to do, always remember that you can pivot to the Artist Pivot. The Artist Pivot. We Audition is the video chat community where actors can audition, self-tape, rehearse, and get expert industry advice. Get instant self-tape readers through video chat, browse through the dedicated actor meditations, podcasts, and books, meet casting directors in the virtual green room, and also make money by becoming a reader for other actors. If you join We Audition and use code PIVOT, you will receive a 25% discount on your membership. Yes, that's right. We Audition and the Artist Pivot have partnered to bring you this discount. From my own experience, I love being a reader for other actors, and We Audition is so convenient for me when I need a reader myself. Again, if you join We Audition and use the code PIVOT, you will receive 25% off your membership. Link in the show notes. All right, y'all. So today on the podcast, I am so excited to say that joining me is brand artist Emily-Jane Sarroff. Hello there. How you doing?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. It has already been such a fun start to my morning with your energy.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And y'all, I just want you to know that we are, at the time of this recording, it is a Thursday evening for me and a Friday morning for Emily. So like, she's in Australia, I'm in America, and we're doing it. Love the internet. I love the internet for this.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we do.
Yes, yes. So I want to start with my two favorite questions. So the first one is, how are your hydration levels? Like, have you had enough water today? But also you're starting your day, so it may not be a fair question, but I'm still asking it. How are your hydration levels? And two, if I texted you and was like, Emily-Jane, how's your day been? How are you feeling? How's everything going? But you could only respond in emojis only. What would you text me?
First of all, I feel called out about my hydration levels. I went to the cafe and had a coffee before this podcast recording, and I'm like, my mouth is like, we need a little bit more water right now. So I've got the water bottle to sip on during the episode. And if I was to respond with just emojis, it would start with like a sleepy girl in bed, had a little sleep in this morning, and then it would be a yummy coffee and breakfast emojis because I went to the cafe, and then a really excited face because I'm just excited to be on this podcast today.
Yes. Oh, yes. I love it. Thank you for that imaginary text. I appreciate it.
I love that question. I've never been asked that before.
Yes. Oh, you're welcome. I started asking this what season did I start asking? Maybe season 4 or 5. Yeah. And I've just kept it, right? Because an emoji can say so much.
Yes.
And I love it. I love it. It gets people thinking, you're like, wait a minute. What would I send you?
And like,
how am I feeling?
It tests that visual mind, right? Like to really start to just take the small little moments of the day and start to capture them in pictures too.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I'm excited to talk to you because I know that your journey to being what you call a brand artist has not been an easy one, right? And I think a lot of artists can relate of like going through stages. The thing that came to mind was like chameleon, right? Like you incubator and then you kind of come out and like you're able to fit yourself in these boxes, but sometimes we shouldn't be in a box, right? You shouldn't be fitting, you shouldn't be a chameleon, right? So you can take us as far back as you would like. But what has your, artistic and just human journey been and pivots to where you are now?
Yeah, I love this question. And I've reflected on this more recently, and it really, it's captured across a 10-year timeline to fully explain the journey that I have been on. And that 10-year timeline started when I was 17 in year 12 at high school. I have always been a very creative and artistic person. Like art has always been the thing that I've described as my spiritual gift, the thing that just comes to me with ease without needing to practice. And art class in school was always my favorite, but it was year 12 art where I really started to connect in with who I am as an artist and really started to discover myself in that way. Now, at that time, year 12 being the final year of schooling before you then go on to university or college, we went and would go do these open days at the universities around the area. And I remember when I went to this university, something pulled me towards the artist quarters where there was this like stunning art studio, big high ceilings. It was like a massive garage essentially decked out in the coolest vibe. And I remember standing in that space, looking around, just feeling my heart so alive in that moment, feeling as though there's potential for me to really step into that. But then all of a sudden this wall slammed down inside me that was like, no, being an artist and studying art isn't the right path. That's not a real career. That's not going to pay bills. That's not what success looks like. And so that had me walking out of that section of the campus and walking all the way over to the engineering and architecture building where then I went and applied to study that degree. And so then the next few years was this journey of me like building a career in architecture, following that corporate path, getting my bachelor's in architectural design, working a job in the industry, and also studying my master's. And so when I was going through that window of study in the architecture realm, I actually became very distant from that artist within me. I stopped creating. I was, starting to emotionally actually burn out because I was really disconnected from that part of my soul that, wanted me to be fueling it. And so it was when I was 6 months away from finishing my master's degree, I was 22 at this time, and all of a sudden I was just flooded with this intense emotion. My head was saying, finish the next 6 months. You've worked so hard on this degree, get that piece of paper, and then figure out where you want to go from there. But my heart was like screaming at me so loud that I actually couldn't move forward in that moment. And so I gave myself permission and I said, well, what if? What if I did decide to step away before finishing these final 6 months and I was to explore another path? And so that's where I actually decided to quit my degree, quit my job, and start a business around my podcast, which was really my passion project at the time. And that was actually the first time that I started to reconnect back in with my artistry. And that was when I had what I would describe as a really big spiritual awakening that actually pulled me back into my artistry. But then from there, it became this story of I need to make my business work. I need to lean all the way in. I need to hustle. I need to create a certain level of success in order to prove to everyone that this was the right path for me. And in doing that, again, I drifted from the artist in me. It started this really massive piece of artwork that I never finished for 3 years to follow that moment, because my mind was, again, connecting back with that definition of success being what I had seen my dad do or what I had seen other people do. And that meant neglecting my artist within me in order to build the business in the way that other people are building businesses. And so I made my first 6 figures within 8 months of starting my business. But again, that burnt me out. It pulled me further away from my creative. And it was a 3-year journey from there to actually start to come back to myself and actually start to listen to that voice that was screaming at me from inside to say, connect back with your art, connect back with your creativity. And so then that really brings me to early this year where I had my 27th birthday. And when that birthday hit, I'm telling you, the universe slammed me with this wall that basically said, Emily, you're going to start creating art again, or else you're not going to be able to do anything else at all. And so it was like I was forced into having to actually listen to that pull that was for so long tugging on my heart gently to say, hey, come play with me, come step into this, come and embody your artistry more. And it was like this make or break moment where I had no other choice but to start creating, but to start leaning back into that artist within me, or else I was ultimately going to quit my business and give up on everything that I had been building. It really became a need to create art again. And so that was where the brand artist was born, from finally acknowledging and finally accepting for myself that the path to success I had been following, it was never meant for me, and that I am able to create a new path towards the success I want to create in my life that actually leads with my artistry, because that is the thing that fuels my soul and brings me joy and fulfillment and passion. And I really realized this year that there's no point waiting until I reach a certain milestone or income goal before I allow space for that, because what my soul requires is for me to actually utilize that gift of mine and utilize my art as a way to grow towards the success that I want to make, and a way to lead those who resonate with my journey and pave a way, be an example for them, you know, like an example that maybe I would have loved to look up to back, 10 years ago at that beginning of my journey.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And hearing you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is Oprah, when she's like, when you're not listening to your heart, not listening to your soul, first it's a whisper. I'm like, hey, Emily, hey, okay. You're ignoring me? Okay. Then it's a tap on the shoulder, right? Okay. Hey, hello. Okay. And then it's a little bit heavier of a tap on the back. Hello. And then it's a brick to the head, right? Yeah, I don't remember when she said it, was years ago, but she was like, that's what happens when you don't listen. Like at first the inner voice is like, okay, hi. And then, you not listening, you finna get a brick to the head now.
Oh, that's exactly
because you need to listen.
And it honestly felt like that. Like I remember, back in March was when my 27th birthday was. And I remember for that entire month, I was essentially crying to my partner every single night, like wanting to burn everything I had built down because it just did not feel aligned, because that one piece wasn't integrated. And so like for me, it was this moment of like, I've got 2 options. I can literally either quit and put everything aside and go do something else, go get a normal job or whatever it may be. And, I have created success, but yet that's how I felt. The success I had created was not aligned. And so, that for me was that brick to the head of like, okay, it's either quit or create a change, and create that change that I literally would hear this voice in my head time and time again, create more art, create more art, create more art. And it was like, it was just like this, I couldn't avoid it anymore. I could not avoid the act of creating more art in that moment. And that is the only way that I can describe that feeling.
Right. Yeah. And yes. And it was like quit or pivot. Those are your 2 options. You have 2 options, right? Quit or pivot. Which one are you choosing? There's no in between. There's no, can I have this? Can I have make your choice. And also stand 10 toes down for that choice, right?
Yeah.
'Cause I think, right, if you would have made the other choice of, I'm just going to go get a 9 to 5, that wouldn't have lasted very long.
No.
It probably would have been like a 6-month detour to come back to what you should have chosen in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like, dang, I made the wrong decision. Let me go.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like I had to allow space for myself to actually entertain the idea of quitting business and getting a 9-to-5 in order to find the clarity that that's not actually what I want. And I do want the business. I do want to be that boss woman, but I want it in a way where I actually feel connected to who I truly am and feel as though every aspect of my life integrates what it is that I truly desire. And yeah, for me, it was as simple as being like, okay, well, art is what I love. How can I bring that into what I do in business so that it's not a separate thing? It doesn't have to be business or art. It can be both.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I love that. But that's how things are created, right? By you taking, this is what I love, and how do I make it something that can support me, right? Like having passion around, essentially, I call them green coupons, right? Like we all need green coupons to live. So, but I want to do it with passion. I don't want to hate how I make green coupons.
And this here was a question that I asked myself, and it was really, really similar. I feel like anyone who's listening to this episode who kind of is in that position right now where they can resonate to these emotions and these experiences, all I started asking myself was, what if? So I actually decided to mute everyone on my socials that I was comparing myself to and that didn't fit the image of the kind of success I wanted to create. And then I asked myself every day, what if I could create success through leading with my art? So I challenge our listeners to take that question of what if and insert whatever it is that, they really would love to play with the potential of, and ask yourself that day after day after day. And at first, there wasn't a clear answer, but after coming back to it every single day and refining and refining and refining, then the path got clearer and clearer and clearer. And so that question right there will actually allow you to start to open up your creative mind to begin to find the pathway to step deeper into alignment with what it is that you want to be doing in your life.
Period. We can end it right there, y'all. Period.
The podcast will allow value of 15 minutes exact.
Right. Exactly. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Yes. But I love that. And even I want to pick up what you're talking about, social media, right? Like it is my aunt went to Bali and last year, and every time, I get in these little head spaces, right? She goes, good and bad born together, right? Because someone told her that when she went to Indonesia. He's like, good and bad born together. And for me, that's social media, right? Like it's great. Oh my gosh, look at what the people that I admire, right, are doing this, loving it. But then there's then that comparison monster wants to creep in because it's what you see, right? But also I'm in the industry. I know how hard it is. Like I know it's not all peaches and cream and roses and butterflies, right? I know, like I literally know this. I've been in this for 17 years. I am fully aware. But that little social media monster, right, will sit right here on your shoulder. So like the fact that you were like, no, I got to mute people. I can't do this. But asking yourself the what if, I think also brought you to a space of what I've learned over the years, right? Like I am 11 years older than you? You said you turned 27. I'm 38. And I have no problem saying my age. Okay. So what I've learned over the years, it's one of those, you can't make decisions from that space of fear, from that space of like, desperation, right? Yeah. So I do think that you asking yourself that what if question helped you come out of that low frequency and low vibration to come into the higher one, right? So that you can make a decision from a higher frequency that will actually benefit you. Massively.
And I even can really clearly reflect on every single morning up until that birthday. Like for the first, my birthday was start of March, so the first 2 months of the year, I remember waking up every day and writing in my journal about how low of a frequency I was in, where it was like, I actually didn't want to go on and do the day. I didn't want to show up for my commitments, my responsibilities. I just wanted to curl up in bed, sleep, and just not think about anything at all. And as soon as I started asking that what if question, the frequency that I would wake up in every single day changed, because I was no longer playing out this victim card where it was like, I'm in this place and I'm not doing anything about it because, screw the world and screw everyone else, whatever was coming up there. It shifted from being in that victim place to being like, okay, how can I actually start to take control of how I'm feeling and where I'm going and actually do something about this? And so that what if question, it almost did two things for me. One, it allowed me to let go of what wasn't serving me and let me let go of old identities, of old beliefs about what success is meant to look like or should look like. And it also opened up the doors to possibility for me to actually start to play with the energy of potential, which is such a fun energy to play in, because if you think, it's kind of like going back and being a kid again, right? Where you're playing dress up. So you're playing with like imaginary friends and you're just playing in this world of creation and potential. And I just started to step into that mindset when it came to lifting myself out of that hole that I had found myself in.
Yes. And I definitely understand that. And it's right, the energy you find yourself in, because I think it's the only thing we can control is ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We can't control a lot of outward situations. We can't control how we react to them, right? But we can't control the actual situation. But we can control our energy. How do we want to show up for ourselves every day, right? And then I think that translates into your career and your business, because I'm actively choosing, no, I'm going to operate on a higher frequency. I'm going to operate on the frequency of potential, of play, of creativity, of joy, right?
Yep.
I was speaking to someone today and she was like, you ever reflect on like when you were a little kid and you watched adults and you remembered like how miserable they were? And you're like, yeah, I never want to be like that. So like, how do I get my life to not look like theirs?
Yes.
Because they're miserable.
Yes.
And then I was like, yes, but I think we're also actively choosing not to be miserable, because life is going to life, right? Like life's going to do what life's going to do, but you can actively still have joy in your life, even when life is lifing.
It's about being really intentional about seeking that joy as well, which can sometimes feel hard when you're so, consumed in one area. And that was something I had to start practicing. I wasn't feeling the fulfillment and joy that I wanted to from my business, and I made my business such a huge part of my identity that sucked the joy out of all other aspects. But then I would intentionally pause, step back, and finding joy and creating joy actually started with the most simplest thing for me. I went to the nursery and bought some flowers and made a little garden bed. And so my first drop of joy was every morning going and watering my flowers in the garden and just sitting in the garden and looking at the colors and like the beautiful range of variety of flowers I had, and just really feeling into, wow, this simple thing is bringing me so much joy. And it takes zero effort to actually sit and feel that joy in that moment. And so I started small, and then I started to compound from there. I was like, okay, where else in life can I find joy right now? Well, I've got a really supportive partner who is holding me every night when I'm crying. And that actually brings me a level of joy to know that I don't have to cry alone. I can cry and be supported by him. And I kept on looking for more and more layers until all of a sudden I was looking around me. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. Outside of business, there is so much here that is bringing me joy right now. If this is possible here, then that is also possible there. How can I start to bring more of that into what I'm doing there as well?
Right. And would you say that that's the thing that helped you kind of separate your identity from the business, right? Like, no, I'm Emily and a business is a part of my life, right? But it is not my life.
Honestly, there were some big conversations I had with multiple people, and I had those conversations with multiple people because of the fact that I knew if I was to go to one source, it would be biased to the aspect of my life that source predominantly helps me with. Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
So I went to four major people. So the first was obviously my partner. Now, my partner is not in business. He is a carpenter by trade. He's a very, very realist person, so very opposite to me. So I knew whatever advice I'd get from him would be very logical, realist, male, right?
Yes, yes.
The first person I went to was my mom. Now, my mom, she has always supported me with my business, but I know that she's always going to prioritize my well-being over anything else, right? And so a big stream that I got from her was like, okay, stress, well-being, that has to come first before anything else. The third person was a mentor of mine who is a woman in business that I really look up to. And I went to her because I knew that she would give me a very business-oriented solution in a sense. And then the fourth was another woman who I met through the business space. However, in conversations I'd had with her in the past, she's always been very detached from like specific circumstances. So she kind of gave me this like zoomed out perspective of like weighing up all the options. So there was like 4 solid streams of conversations that were going on that allowed me to actually process the experience I was having, process the identity death that I was having, and start to connect and feel into different solutions to be able to honor all solutions as completely valid and right solutions, and then make a decision about which one actually felt the truest to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that you just even had the foresight to be like, I got to ask multiple people.
Yes.
Because all of them are in different aspects of my life, right?
Yes.
And you're like, yeah, they're going to give me different outlooks on this.
Yes.
And even you could have actually chosen any of those, right? But I want to hedge a bet and say that you kind of took pieces from each of them and was like, okay, this is the soup I'm now making from the advice I got from each of you of like, okay, this is what I need to do.
Exactly, right? And it did end up being that. So, you know, from my partner, like I really took on board, okay, if I do continue forward with business and what I'm creating, where do I actually need to tighten up certain areas to take a more realistic and logical approach where maybe I've been a little bit up in the clouds and not necessarily acknowledging what might be happening. With my mum, it was, okay, I see that I do need to start prioritizing my well-being more and having that as something that is a key part in my journey forward. With my business mentor, it was like, okay, cool. She's really validating for me the direction that I do feel I can move in when it comes to the strategy towards business. And then that fourth friend of mine really validated the idea that it's okay for me to be mourning an old version of myself as I step into this new version of myself. So it was really beautiful how I did end up actually taking something from each of them. And I feel that was why I kept looking for the next person after speaking to one, because in having those conversations, I'm like, yes, I've taken something, but it doesn't feel complete. There's something more that I need to find. And I know for our listeners, not everyone might have such a strong network that they can lean on. That's something that I'm really grateful that I've been able to build over the years. And so what my guidance would be for you is to think about who is maybe one person that is either within your physical world or even someone within the online space that maybe you observe from a distance or you listen to their podcasts, that whether it's having a direct conversation with them or listening to conversations like this, that you could really just sit a little deeper and feel into how can I use that wisdom they're sharing as a way to guide me forward from here. But the best thing that I ever did for myself in building a network was actively investing in myself. I was grateful to have, you know, a supportive mom, supportive dad, supportive friends, but I also never really had anyone who was in the business world. And so I've for years invested in communities, events, things that are just going to put me into the rooms of like-minded people who are doing the same thing as me or already ahead of me, and actually paying to get amongst people that I can then bring into my network. So that's also what I challenge your audience with is whose network can you start to connect deeper into if that involves an investment of some sort or even just trading your time and energy, because I volunteer a lot for really successful people here on the Gold Coast who are running big events and growing big networks. I volunteer my time to help them with the in-person events that they run in exchange for me to be able to grow connections with them and get amongst their network. So start to think about how you can get resourceful in building your network as well.
Right. Right. And that's kind of key for us as artists and we're also very good at it. Like, right. Like we're resourceful
Yes.
because we kind of have to be, right? But also that's a skill. Like, right. How can I volunteer or how can I barter or trade if I don't necessarily have the funds right now to pay for this class or to get into the networking event or what have you, right? Like, how else can I approach the situation? Yeah.
How can you add value in different forms that are not just monetary? I even did so many coaching swaps when I was in my first year of business, which then ended up growing into really close friendships as well. And so finding people where it's like, if you've got a certain skill set or something that they can leverage and vice versa, like doing some coaching swaps or even just asking yourself, how can I become such a high value person that these kinds of connections become a no-brainer for the people that come across me as well?
Right, right. Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you. And I just have a question about the artists that you work with in your business. And we were talking about mindsets earlier, right? And how it kind of all starts with the mindset shift, and also the maintenance, right, of it, kind of believing that you do it, believing that you will do it, then you will, right? Like I love the phrase of, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, then you can't, right? So has there been something that has come up repeatedly in the mindset of artists that come to you to be like, Emily, help me?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing, and I feel like this is such a core wound for everyone, is just that feeling of inadequacy or not being good enough. And that being something that then impacts their ability to fully step into their artistry or step into building the business or sharing their voice, because that little voice inside their head says, you're not good enough, you're going to get called out for being a fraud. And this is like a big wound that I feel so many people have to learn to navigate through as well. And so often when it comes to helping my clients move through that, there's a couple things that we look at. First of all, we start to understand, where is that actually coming from? You know, where did that belief stem from? Because when you were born, you did not believe that you were not good enough. It was something that you developed at a certain age after certain experiences in your life. And that shifted the perception that you have of yourself and the perception of how you move through the world as well. And so we start by starting to understand that. But we don't wait to fully understand that before we start to take action to move through it, right? And that's a mistake that so many people make, is they go, I have to understand this completely and wholeheartedly before I can actually get over it. And that's not the truth. So it's a partnering of understanding and developing awareness whilst also taking action to build that belief in yourself, because action will build belief. So if you can just get yourself into motion and in momentum, then you're going to start to prove to yourself, oh, I can actually do this. And then that's going to create this snowball of effects. So it's really a combination of the two when it comes to navigating that.
Precisely. Because I like to say that clarity comes from action, right? You're like, I need to be clear. Take the first step, right? Because you don't know what the other one, you don't know what the next steps are, right? But if you take the first one, the next piece is going to come, right? Like clarity comes from the action. So do the first thing.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because it is so very true. Whenever I felt like I lack clarity or I lack direction, it's because I'm standing still. And it's because I'm not moving, and I'm allowing myself to become buried under these layers of insecurity and doubt. And that all of a sudden is blurring the path forward. But as soon as you get up and you start taking some action, any action, messy action, it doesn't have to be the right action. It just has to be something. That motion begins to create the clarity and the direction. And so that's really all it's about, is when you feel yourself unsure how to move forward, just do something. Just do something.
Just do something. Just do something. Because then also what I found is, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done this.
Yes. Right.
But you wouldn't have found out if you didn't do, oh, I did A, I was supposed to do B, but I wouldn't have found out I was supposed to do B if I didn't do A.
Yes, exactly. So you will make progression even if in your head you go, oh, that's a regression because it's wrong. No. because you've learned something. You've now discovered what wasn't the path, or what doesn't align, or what isn't the right fit. And that is going to allow you to see, okay, well, what should I have done? And so it's not about needing to make the right choice every single time and take the right action every single time. It's about taking some action, then reflecting on that action and seeing, okay, did this move me to where I wanted to be? If not, why not? And how can I course correct from there?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because standing still, you can get in your head. You will get in your head, and you literally just go and bury yourself in thoughts when it's like, just take the first step and be like, oh, I should have made a left. That's all right. Okay. Like you said, let's reevaluate. What have I learned? Now I can go right. Okay. There it is. But standing still, that'll get you every time.
And often you'll also learn so much about yourself in those redirections. Like if I think about, the last 4.5 years of actually being in business, there have been so many decisions that I've made along the way that have moved me in an alternate direction that maybe wasn't the fullest or the right direction that I wanted to be moving in. But that in itself ended up bringing me clarity and showing me where I was actually meant to be. So even the journey of becoming so disconnected from my artistry over the years, that actually solidified for me, okay, no, this is what I'm meant to be doing. Now that I've felt what it feels like and what it looks like when this is absent, I now know with certainty that that's not for me. And so that I can lean in twice as hard with certainty and just knowing that this is what I'm meant to be doing now. So it's important to allow yourself to actually go with those movements and allow yourself to course direct, because if we rewind 10 years ago and I had maybe just gone straight into that, artist degree, would I be at this point that I'm at now? Would I have learned everything I needed to learn in order to have the wisdom to be able to serve the people that I serve now? So everything's going to happen in such divine timing for you. But as long as you're standing in that place of inaction, you're never actually going to be moving towards the destination that you're meant to be.
Right. Yes, because it's one of those, like we say, hindsight's 2020, and you go, oh, that's why I did that.
Yeah.
Oh, that worked out because now I'm here. But when you're in the midst of it, sometimes you're just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And why?
It's not always going to make sense in the moment, and it's not always meant to be honest. It's kind of just allowing yourself to trust with the flow of where it is that you're going. And that's a big thing that I've really had to step into through every aspect of my journey, is just trusting that it's all going to work out, trusting that even if it doesn't work out, I will be fine, and that's exactly how it was meant to work out anyway. So when you can step into that depth of self-trust, you allow yourself to open up to more pathways and more opportunities that maybe you wouldn't have allowed yourself to explore otherwise.
Yes, absolutely. And that depth of self-trust is a key, right? Because I think, unfortunately, we are raised to not necessarily fully trust ourselves, right? Like, I do believe we are born trusting ourselves, but then welcome to society, right? And it'll have you questioning, and you're like, should I be? Oh, but what about? And it's like, trust yourself. Trust. Going back again, let's talk about children, right? Their inhibitions are down, right? Like, they're outside in a tutu twirling.
Yeah.
Right? Not questioning if they trust themselves. They just like spinning in this tutu.
Exactly that.
Right?
I feel like as you're saying that, what I really see is the thing that pulls us away from trusting ourselves is, I guess, external pressures that we place on ourselves around decisions that we make, things that we step into. Because when it comes up for me of like that element of self-trust, the thing that, if anything, at times has wavered that self-trust has been putting, my focus too much on the external world around me. So what are people going to think? Are people going to judge me if I make a mistake, if I do something wrong? And taking on board criticism or pressures or expectations from other people that then have gone, oh, well, if I choose to trust myself, but then I fail myself, then that is wrong. And therefore I can't trust myself ever again because these people have made me feel a level of shame or, something, an emotion as such that has then now created this negative association to an experience of trying to trust yourself. And so a big thing for me is actually disconnecting from those external voices, projections, whatever it may be, and coming back to just listening to myself. Shame's a big piece that I feel a lot of people experience in different ways. I experience it in big ways where it's like I made decisions in my life that then created this feeling of shame based off what I thought other people would think about that decision, right? And so when I stopped actually caring about potential projections or opinions from other people, that feeling of shame stopped growing. It started to disappear. It started to go away. And then that trust that, I was initially had in myself began to come back.
Right. You had to clear all the muck away. You're like, okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Enough. Yes, that makes sense. And I wanted to talk to you because I wanted to bring this up off your fun facts that you spent 6 months in Canada, right? Over here in North America. Like, okay, because I'm a traveler. I love to travel. I've been to 27 countries so far. And like, what prompted that? Yeah. How you do it? Like, where, like 6 months, like, let's go. I'm here for it. How do I do that?
Well, it's such a relevant time to bring this topic up since the whole reason for that trip was to rebuild self-trust.
Yes.
So essentially, after my first year of business, I burnt myself out, and then I got into a domestic violence relationship. And I was in that relationship for about a year and a half. And that, being in a place of burnout initially, I had broken my self-trust, and then that just deepened and deepened and deepened and deepened the longer that I was in that relationship. And so when I left that relationship finally, I knew that I was in a fragile place. I knew that I wasn't as grounded or as self-assured and confident as I had been 2 years prior. And I knew that I needed to do something radical for myself to not just bring back joy and create a space for me to, cliche, find myself again, but also to just build a heck of a lot of self-trust. Now, I had never left Australia before, let alone traveling solo anywhere. And so this was like a quantum leap for me to be able to just throw myself in the deep end and be like, well, if I can navigate myself around a foreign country for 6 months on my own, then I can trust myself to do anything that I need to do. And so that's essentially what I did. I packed up, I moved overseas for 6 months, and it was just this journey of, traveling to all different parts of Canada. Canada felt like there was a level of safety in there that my nervous system needed because it was an English-speaking country. The currency wasn't too far off what it is in Australia. Culturally, very similar as well. And I also had some online friends within the business space that lived across Canada that I had always wanted to meet and connect with. So there was many things calling me in that direction. And it honestly just became this journey of me traveling around with my suitcase, jumping on public transport here, there, everywhere, and soaking up, living in hostels and Airbnbs. And one of the Airbnbs was like a Harry Potter nook underneath a staircase. Like, it was just the coolest little experiences. I just went wherever my heart pulled me to go. And in that journey, I just rebuilt so much self-trust that when I came back, it was like such a healing experience for me after everything I had been through prior.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And I love that for you. I love that you got to experience that. And
it's a cool experience because of the fact that I knew I wasn't going to be able to really do something like that, at other stages in life. Or maybe I can, but at that point, I was freshly single. I was actually casually, seeing my now boyfriend, but that's another story. But I was essentially I didn't have any ties to where I was. And, I don't have kids. I don't have a mortgage. Like there was no really big commitments that would create, I guess, challenges for me to be able to go and do that. And so I wanted to jump on that opportunity because, I knew that I was going to get into a serious relationship eventually. And maybe that would mean I'd want to travel with my partner instead of traveling on my own. And I wanted to really take that opportunity in that moment, knowing that, hey, I might not get this kind of opportunity again.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Seizing the moment, right? Yeah. Seizing the moment. I love that. Oh, I love that. And the question that I do have for you would be like, what's your nugget or nuggets of wisdom, to artists who are, trying to make decisions, right? Like we also have to be fully aware that the world right now is in chaos. Welcome to 2025. In actual chaos. But like, what would be your word of wisdom, your nugget of advice to just be like, y'all, you got this?
Yeah. The way that I would describe this actually is, whenever I create a painting, I always find there's this like little moment where maybe I'm 50% of the way through and I've done so much on the artwork and now I'm adding in an element that's like, oh, I could fuck this up right now, and it's like this feeling of like, oh, do I do this brush stroke? This could like ruin everything that I've done in this moment. And in that moment, I always pause and I go, Emily, just trust yourself. Just do something. Put the brush on the canvas, make a stroke. Maybe the stroke doesn't turn out how you want it to be, but trust that if that's the case, you'll be able to morph it into something even better. And so if you are trying to navigate something challenging right now in your life or in, the greater scheme of the world, then just trust yourself to make that one stroke and know that even if the stroke doesn't go as planned, you will be able to redirect and re-navigate yourself. And it just really comes back to that piece of trust that we've spoken about so deeply already.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Emily, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Before I let you go, tell me where everybody can find you out here on the interwebs.
I am very, very easy to find. So the best place to follow me or to connect with me is Instagram at Empower with M. I post content daily. I share all different kinds of things, not just around branding, but also around me as an artist and what I'm creating and how I'm allowing my artwork to guide the direction of where I'm going in business. So if you're curious about following me or even working with me, send me a DM on Instagram. And if you're like, I just want to get to know you deeper and who you really are, then go listen to the Empower with Them podcast, because I started that podcast before I started my business. So 22-year-old me started recording her very first episode, and it's become a audio diary of the last, 5 years of my life, and every challenge and milestone before, during, and after it happened. So you can go back and you can listen to that and connect in with me and my journey based off where you are in your journey as well.
All right. And don't worry, everybody, that will be in the show notes, so it's easily clickable. Yep. And Emily, I must say to you that I acknowledge you, I celebrate you, and I uplift you.
Oh, I appreciate you so much. This was such a fun conversation.
You're so very welcome. Yes, it was. Thank you so much for joining me. And coming up on the next episode of the Artist Pivot podcast.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Apple, and I'm on the Artist Pivot podcast, right? Like, it's just the frame and the lens that we're seeing and being taught about it is like, well, you have to figure it out, or if you don't, oh God, versus like, you have the opportunity as a creative, the joy of it, to be able to do many things. Like, that is the thing. That is where the opportunity lies. Obviously, it comes with a level of balancing and having to be, adept and flexible, but I think it really is the verdict.
This show is hosted and produced by me, Ayana Major Bay. Show editor is Kieran Niement. Show theme song lyrics written by Ayana Major Bay and Melissa Victor. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this show with your friends.